This episode is brought to you by Sheeta and
Nikki
from Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki podcast. Creating quality episodes takes plenty of time, energy, and can be quite costly. If you have gained value in our podcast and would like to support us, please consider being a subscriber to our show.
By becoming a monthly subscriber, you will have access to all episodes, exclusive content, giveaways, and podcast merchandise. You will even have an opportunity to be shouted out on an upcoming episode. We have goals for our podcast, and to help us achieve those goals, sign up to be a monthly subscriber by clicking the link in our bio and click on the subscribe to our podcast link. Now let's get into today's episode.
Hi, my name is Lillian Hicks, owner of Land Design Group LLC, and you're listening to Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki. I'm today's featured guest. Now let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. Once again, this is another episode of Real Conversations with Sheeta and
Nikki.
And today we have another amazing guest on our show. We are excited to welcome our featured guest for this episode. Her name is Lillian Hicks, and she is an entrepreneur and an interior designer.
Lillian is the owner and CEO of Land LLAN Design Group LLC. It is a full-service interior decorating company that also offers design, consulting, e-design, and space planning. Thanks, Lillian, for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So let everybody know about your company and how you got started.
Well, okay. So my company, as you mentioned, it is a full-service interior decorating company. So I offer room refresh, as I call it. So I offer where you just come in, and if you want to change, pieces of furniture, maybe lighting, wall color. So I offer that, but I also offer just full interior decorating service, where that is a totally new space. We may be gutting a room. We take it down to the studs, may relocate a wall. It depends. I also offer space planning. That's if you just have let's say you have an unfinished basement and you want to add a bathroom, maybe 1 or 2 bedrooms, you want a family room area. I can offer that also.
Great. Now, how long have you been in business, and is it just you that's running your company?
It is just me. I am a solopreneur, but I have a contracting company that I work with. And so I pretty much provide the design, and then my construction company that I partner with, they implement the design. And on September 19th was actually my 2nd year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Right. But you know what? Just by looking at your Instagram, your Facebook, your website, I wouldn't believe that you've been in business for just 2 years. Like everything that you've done, it's been phenomenal. And you're really getting a lot of business. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot because so I pretty much stepped out on faith to start this.
Mm-hmm.
So that means a lot for you ladies to say that. I just truly enjoy what I do, in all honesty. I appreciate my clients for allowing me into their space, for entrusting me with their design, their space, the money that they're going to spend, to complete the space.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, because I noticed too on your Instagram page that you have rendering on there where you show the whole concept of the room, like even down to like the texture of the pillows to the designs. That's really detailed. It looks very professional, high end, and I love it. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I try to provide for my clients, just a luxurious space.
Yeah.
And then the 3D renderings that I offer, it gives them a true view of what the space will look like. Because I can just give them a product board or mood board that just has each item placed on the board. But I really I want to provide the 3D renderings because people can get a true view of what their space will look like.
Yeah. And I noticed in your educational background that you obtained your bachelor's and master's in architecture, right?
Right. Yes.
So how did you get into wanting to become an architecture major?
Well, initially it was architectural engineering.
Mm-hmm.
But the school that I applied to and got accepted to, they no longer offered that. It was just architecture.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, because I've always enjoyed building things, and then the interior also. So I had a love of both. So I thought, okay, why not? And so like 6 years later, I ended up with my bachelor's of science in architecture and then a master's degree in architecture.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like? Because I don't know a lot of Black female architectures or engineers. So what was that experience like getting your master's in that? Did you see a lot of people that looked like us in the program?
Well, I went to an HBCU, so everyone looked like us, fortunately.
Okay.
So, yeah, we had, oh my goodness, we had some fun nights, late night in the architecture building, because anyone that, any of your listeners, if they're familiar with architecture and just the background being in college, we're pretty much in design studio all night working on projects until we have what's called jury, and that's when you present and defend your design, your layout, all of that. So, we would be up there all times of night. I remember one time we had our quote unquote Olympics.
Okay.
And so we had this long corridor in our building. And so what we did, there were stairs at each end of it. And so, just up late night, having a good time, we devised like this whole little route you had to take, and whoever won, I can't remember what the prize was, but just late night shenanigans. So you had to run down the stairs, you had to come back up the side, then we had a chair on wheels, and you had to roll in the chair down the hall, just kind of blow off some steam. Right. But yeah, we had a good time, and there were only, we had our core group that made it from like summer after senior year in high school all the way till we graduated together. There were only maybe about, it's been so long, but maybe about 5 or 6 of us that actually made it all the way through.
Oh, wow.
So it was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge, but it was worth it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it was a challenge, but like you said, it was worth it at the end.
Yeah, definitely. So how did you wind up transitioning from architecture to an interior designer? How did that happen?
So I've always been interested in it, in interiors and just different textures and colors and just putting the interior together. I've always been interested in that, as well as how do you build the structure, right? Because it's two separate things. In architecture school, we learn how to build a sound structure, and we dabble a little in interiors, but I always enjoy both aspects of it. Like, I want to build your house, but I also want to furnish it. So I enjoy all of it. And one day I was at work and I just was no longer fulfilled. Honestly, I didn't enjoy the projects. We'll say, I was no longer interested in microaggressions that come along, when you may be the only woman. Well, actually, I was one of 2 in our group, and, the only person of color. So, I was just over it. I'm thankful for my experience with my company, because I had been with them since I graduated. I actually interned with them while I was pursuing my master's. I interned with them in their San Antonio office. And then they had an opening here in the Chicago office, and I wanted to come back home. Yeah. So I applied, and I, was hired full time. So I have been with them throughout my entire career. So I'm thankful for them, but it was time for me to move on and just kind of step out on faith and start my own company.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah. Because you mentioned stepping out on faith, and I know that's a lot of what we talk about on this show. Because we stepped out on faith, leaving our previous job to really pursue and create our own platform and become full-time entrepreneurs. So do you mind sharing with us a little bit of what that looked like for you, stepping out on faith? Because you mentioned that you weren't happy with the previous job that you were at. So do you mind kind of just sharing a little bit of, I guess, of what you're comfortable with, what that looked like for you for stepping out on faith?
Sure. I just knew that I needed to be able to express myself more in my creativity. While I say I'm thankful for that previous life, it feels like, with my other company, but I needed something for me that I could do for myself. And so I actually took almost a year off to kind of decompress and figure out exactly what I wanted to do. It was about 9 months before I started the company. And my first client actually sought me out. And, they say, God will place people in your life, as you need them, they come. And so, that was the first time that I really considered doing this as a career. I'd always been interested. I have a million Architectural Digest magazines. And so maybe that was, God trying to tell me, trying to give me a little nudge, like this is the direction you should go in. So, I stepped out and I looked at, just what type of processes I needed to put in place that would help me, be successful, whether it was billing, whether it was, how am I going to communicate with my clients? What software do I need to provide these renderings to my clients and the floor plans? So did a little research on that. And well, I stepped out on faith, but I still had a little fear. Like, let's not, kind of negate the fear aspect of things.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just like, is this going to work? I can't survive off of just my creativity, meaning I can't survive just off of loving to do something. I actually have to bring in clients to pay bills.
Yes.
So what does that look like?
Right.
How do you charge? How do you charge? How do you monetize your gift?
Right.
So just the fear factor of trying to figure all of that out.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So are there any struggles that you feel like you really go through as an entrepreneur, and especially just working by yourself? What difficulties do you find?
Just the unknown. And a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, right? So I try to do a lot of research or reach out to people that are entrepreneurs that have maybe been where I am or still, still in the same place as I am. We're going through things together. So I try to bounce ideas off of other entrepreneurs and reach out and just get their thoughts on some things.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit about far as being a woman in this business. We know that it's a lot of women, that are interior designers, but they are not women of color a lot of times. When we turn on that TV for HGTV and things like that, you don't see a lot of African American women. So how do you really kind of deal with that? Have you found any difficulties with that?
So in architecture, when I was in school, I think for women of color, it was maybe like 1% that were registered architects.
Mhm.
So I'm familiar with there being, small numbers of women in the field, right? So when I transitioned to interior decorating, it was nothing new.
Oh.
Yeah, so being a woman in this field, it just, you deal with it. And honestly, I can't say in my day to day I think about it, only because I'm interacting with clients, I'm interacting with contractors, and I haven't had too many issues. I did have one issue with a contractor, but it's par for the course, I guess. It is what it is. But overall, I haven't had any issues with like disrespect or anything like that. But I wish that there were more women in architecture and in construction.
Mhm.
That's where I think our numbers need to increase.
Yeah. Because I know even for myself, when I went on your page, I saw you really getting in there. Like you had the hammer and everything. I said, she's not just designing, she's in here just working as well. And then just knowing that you're architecture, like you know all about this. So it's great that you have that knowledge on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy getting my nails dirty. Like I'll have my gloves on, but I will definitely get my hands dirty. I enjoy it. And I know my subcontractors, I know sometimes they're sick of me because I ask a bunch of questions. I want to get in there. I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm actually building my tools. I think I may turn part of my garage into a tool shed. Because I'm gaining more and more tools. I think like by the month it seems. So
that's great.
Yeah, and I can see you because I can tell, just from your page and just talking to you now, you're very knowledgeable about, like Nicole said, both sides, the interior designing and the architecture. So do you ever look at yourself as like a mentor to mentor other young women to get into this field of interior designing and architecture? Have you ever thought of that, doing that?
You know what? Sadly to say, I hadn't thought of that, only because I feel like I have many more goals to set for myself.
Okay.
But a lot of times, we don't necessarily realize how far we've come, and that's one thing that I struggle with. I know I had he's an ex now, but he would always help me to focus on the smaller wins, not necessarily the bigger wins.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I do have to, I guess, kind of take into consideration. But I think maybe let me reach a couple more goals, and then I think that I can fully be a mentor to someone.
Yeah.
Now, if they need mentorship as far as like getting through architecture school or something like that, then yes. Yes, because I feel like I've done that. You know what I mean? I've kind of I've completed that. I was successful in my career. Sure. Yeah. But I think I want to reach a few more goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned that some of your services include e-designing. So can you explain to our listeners a little bit more about what is e-designing?
Sure. E-design is typically for someone that is outside of my state or maybe even country. And if they have a space that they want me to design, they would have to provide the measurements and photos. And then I would draw a floor plan and provide the rendering and send it to them with links to the items to purchase. And then they would purchase those items and put the room together. And so with the e-design, I also offer like video chat. So when all of their items come in, and they begin to put the room together, then, we can be on the video chat and I would say, no, maybe move that, fluff that a little more, maybe place this pillow here, or, just kind of guide them to complete their room.
Yeah. That's great, because even now with this day and time with what we're going through for this pandemic, a lot of people are still scared to let people come into their house. But they may say, oh, I want to touch up this room, but I'm kind of nervous to have people come in. Right. So just to have that, that's great. And to have the items linked,
right, that's what I was going to say.
Only thing with the e-design, you have to be comfortable in actually like hanging your own curtains, or maybe replacing your own light fixtures, or maybe just putting items together. That's the only challenge. But if you're comfortable with that, then yeah, it's a win-win for everyone.
Right, because your renderings, it will already map out those things for them. Correct. They just have to go get it and do it.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
So what does that look like far as with you designing a space for someone when you do go into their home? You kind of sit down and get an idea of what they want, and like what kind of happens after that, from like, going to go get the items at the store. What if you can't find what they're looking for? How does that work?
So my process is I offer a 30-minute free phone consultation. And so I just kind of go over my process with potential clients. Just things you need to know or expect, if you choose to move forward with my company. So by the time we've gotten to the site consultation, which would be the next step if they want to move forward, they know that I come to take photos and measurements. But I also ask that if they know their decor style, we discuss that. And I ask that if they, they've come across any Pinterest photos or anything that they like, that would be the time for them to show me. And so we just discuss more in depth their design style, the envisioned use for the space, any colors that are just non-negotiable, just their thoughts on the space. So I take that time for a more in-depth conversation. And then the next step would be I provide the design.
Right. Okay. So as an interior designer, have you, what are some things or details that you've noticed that people overlook when they're designing a space?
So believe it or not, it's scale of furniture.
Okay.
So the size of it, meaning, if you have a larger space, you have to take into consideration the size of your furniture pieces, because, you don't want it to be too small, because then it gives you more of like a dollhouse feel, right? This little furniture in this huge space. Or it could vice versa. You have a small room, but then a bunch of larger items, so it feels cluttered.
Right.
It could be something as simple as the curtain length. Sometimes it's too short. It's a lot of little things that you may notice when you go into someone's home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't mention it. I don't offer unsolicited advice or anything unless I'm there to do a job or provide a service.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go into someone's home and you're like, oh, these curtains are...
Right.
Right.
I just give myself and keep moving.
Yeah. That's great. And you know what? When I think about an interior designer, I always think about a space like a living room or a family room. I never thought, when I was going through your page, you all do a bathroom as well. When I think about that, I just think about, okay, you may get a construction company to come out, but I never thought about an interior designer doing bathroom spaces. Do you do outside spaces as well too?
Typically I leave that to a landscape architect, because they can give you, if we're speaking landscaping, I will do patio design. I'll do that.
Yeah.
when it comes to exterior. Now I will do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, back to the interior, like every inch of the house, an interior designer can, pretty much design. Yeah, it could be. I haven't posted it, but there's a project where I did a foyer, and just brought a little life to it. So it wasn't just a basic entryway to the home. It's more welcoming. And then they had the ledge, as some homes typically do when you have the double height foyer, and so that they'll have the taller ceiling. And so we placed a large chandelier there, and we decorated their ledge, just so it's more inviting as you first enter the home, because that's the first thing you see when you walk in.
Yeah.
And then that sets the tone for the rest of the house.
Right. That is so great.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
Yeah, because I'm not good at this. So, like, I have my own house, but I don't know. I just try to.
Yeah, and a lot of times people do think, well, okay, I can just hire the contractor, but a lot of times the contractor will come in and just install whatever you tell them to install. Yeah, now I don't know how much design will be to that. A lot of times you tell them, well, I have this tile and this vanity and I need you to install it, and there you go. But when you hire a designer, then we actually, take into consideration, well, how does this vanity pair with your wall color? How does it pair with your floor or your shower tile, and then also your fixtures? Just the details.
Now I have a question. This might be a more personal question, because I'm in the middle of removing the wallpaper from my house. Smaller. It's a 3-bedroom home. It's a living room, dining room, and
3 bedrooms.
It's a smaller space. So, do you have any advice for me as far as what color paint I should put on the wall for a smaller space to make it look bigger?
So, what is the actual space? Is it a living room, dining room, family room?
Yeah. So it's a living room, dining room. The living room, dining room connects. So it all flows together. But I want to repaint the living room, dining room area, but it is a small area. So, any suggestions for colors for the wall if it is a small space?
So it depends. Do you have a lot of windows?
Yeah, it is a lot of windows. It is.
Okay. So, because you have a lot of natural light, you could go dark. You could go darker in the space, or just to keep it light and airy, you can go light. It depends on your design aesthetic, which you like.
Right.
But you do have options to play with color.
Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes I think if it's too dark, I don't want the house to look dark. I still want it to look light. But like you said, we do have a lot of windows. We have a window in the dining room and windows in the living room. So even if I did choose a darker color, the windows or the light from the windows would still incorporate that brightness that you said.
Look at y'all.
Yeah.
But feel free to reach out to Land Design Group if you if you want to start a consultation.
Right. Yeah, I can give you up. So, do you have any future goals for your business? And if so, what are some of those future goals for your design business?
I do. I have a few goals. So some I'll speak on, some I won't. But immediate goals, just building my clientele, residential clientele, but I also want to break out into commercial. I have a few projects that are possibly in the works. So yeah, that's just build my clientele.
Yeah. Do you plan on hiring any more, any employees to work with you once you do start expanding, or you still feel like it'll just be you?
Possibly. It depends. When it comes to design, you want to pair with someone that you can work with. Your design aesthetic doesn't have to be 100% the same, but you can complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what's a good fit.
Okay. So, Lillian, do you want to let our listeners know where they can reach you on social media?
Facebook is Land Design Group, and Land is spelled LLAN. Instagram is at I Love a Little Design. And I'm still working on finalizing my website. But as of right now, I can be reached on social media.
Okay, great.
And my phone number, 708-969-0925.
Thank you so much for coming on. We really, really
Thank you.
enjoyed you.
Yes, and we learned something today too.
Yes.
You gave some really good tips and advice.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
We want to thank Miss Lillian Hicks today for coming on to the show, owner and CEO of Land Design Group LLC. We want to close out with our takeaway as always, and that's it makes a big difference in your life when you stay positive. And that is by Ellen DeGeneres. So we want to thank all of our listeners for listening to the show, supporting us. We would not be able to do this without you guys.
Yes. And we also want to shout out a small business. The business that we're shouting out today is called Negative to Positivity LLC. You can follow them on Instagram at Negative to Positivity. They are a production company that produces positive content and merchandise and business services. They also do web designing, virtual assistants. So if you are ever in need of building your website, make sure you check them out on Instagram. Again, their Instagram name is Negative to Positivity, so check them out. You can also go to our page and find them as well if you're interested. And also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki podcast. You can catch up on all the latest episodes on our YouTube channel. But make sure you click that subscribe button to get notifications on when our episodes are released. And also, we were recently featured in the South Suburban News article, so make sure to go on mytaylormedia.com to read the full article. When you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you get access to podcast episodes 2 days sooner than our podcast, than on other podcast platforms. You will also have the opportunity to view bonus content and videos. And we also have a TikTok at Sheeta and Nikki. So make sure you follow us on TikTok. And also click the link in our bio for our Happiness Journal and Tropic Owl Living products. And if you would want to be featured on any upcoming episodes, please email us or contact us on Instagram at realconversations21 or email us at realconversations21@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening to another episode of Real Conversations with Sheeta and
Nikki. Bye.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free.
There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hi everyone, this is Nikki
And Sheeta
from Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki. I wanted to talk with you about the importance of having a morning routine. Did you know, according to a poll conducted by a website named The Sleep Judge, the poll consisted of more than 1,000 participants. Data found that individuals who stuck to a morning routine earn more than a whopping $12,000 more per year than those who have a casual approach to the morning.
Having a morning routine has shown to increase energy and productivity, as well as having better focus and improved happiness. Having a morning routine is not about perfection, but about consistency. There will be days when your morning routine will be thrown off or simply can't be completed that day, and that's okay. That's why we suggest habit nest journals.
Habit nest journals take you day by day with numbered pages and words of encouragement and tips for each day. Habit nest journals help you set a morning routine that's customizable for each individual's personal needs. Please click the link in our bio for your habit nest journal today.